He's a weapon to the culture. Get on W. Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farrajii Muhammad. Folks, what a night. What a night. Today, we're going to talk about what just happened in this year's midterm elections. I'm asking two questions. Now what? And are you ready for change? That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to break it down for you why I'm asking those two questions. We'll have those conversations. Also, we're going to talk about the National Urban League's Build Up Local program as we look at how do we support Black businesses. We'll have that. And can we talk about marijuana being on the ballot for 5 states? And guess what, folks? It's been approved. People in Maryland, Missouri, they want marijuana to be legalized, and they got it. It looks like it is a changing of the tide for the cannabis conversation. All right, we'll have that. And of course, we want to have you join us for the conversation. So make sure y'all jump in the chats, get ready to join the online culture crew, and let's get ready to talk about it. Stay tuned. All of that is coming on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farrajii Muhammad. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. Man, oh man, there were so many things that we need to talk about because of last night. First and foremost, if you had a chance to tune into the Black Votes Matter election night coverage that we hosted here on the Black Star Network, of course, by our curator and founder, Brother Roland Martin, you would know we had the realest, blackest conversation about the election than any other network, than any other place. Man, to say that we had commentators, to say that we had analysis is an understatement. We had, Brother Roland was able to assemble like, he had like an Avengers team of, of thought leaders, scholars, community leaders, activists, political folk. He was able to bring together, and of course, the fantastic team here at Black Star, bringing that show together, which lasted for over 6 hours, folks, of just nonstop coverage, bringing you up to date on races, more importantly, talking about candidates and issues in a way that is relevant to us. So I want to just say, big shout out to Brother Roland. Big shout out to all of those who participated in the panel. I was trying to get on the panel. Folks, it was just, the situation was moving so fast, so many people, so many voices. I was trying to get in on the panel. Didn't make it happen, but I was cool with it because at the end of the day, folks, I'm blessed to still be a part of this great team and this great programming here at Black Star Network. So I'm happy that we were able to hear from so many people, a lot of different voices, a lot of familiar voices. But we talked about the issues. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you did as well, because we talked about the election unlike any other place that you saw on television, with our flair, with our culture in mind. with our understanding of your struggle, my struggle, with our understanding of where we are in our community and where we are in this country, man, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. So if you did not get a chance to go back or to watch it, like I said, we were streaming at least for 5, 6, almost 7 hours, I believe. If you did not get a chance to if you did not get a chance to watch it, and big shout out to the team, man. Y'all don't understand the behind the scenes team, like my man King Keenan, Ariel, all of the producers, Carol, like y'all don't understand, like there's a lot to go into work in building this, and to be on par with CNN, MSNBC in a very short period of time, and as long as this network has been in existence, is huge. Absolutely huge. And I'm just so excited. I'm very happy to be a part of the team here. But what you saw last night was a network, a Black-owned media institution, a network deciding to step up to the plate to talk about the election in a way that was needed and necessary. And I'm very, very thankful and grateful. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of Black Star Network. And I'm just happy about the coverage that we were able to provide on all of the major races, the minor races, and more importantly, the implication of all of these races on the Black political agenda. And here's something else, folks. This is something. So first and foremost, give yourselves a warm round of applause, because when I jumped into the chat and started talking to you, I saw you. I was like, yo, the crew is up in here. Corinna, I seen you, sis. King Lee, I seen you. Damon, I seen you. Sandy, I seen you. Who else? Nisa, I saw you in it. I mean, y'all really ride with us here at Black Star Network. And that is one of the most phenomenal things. It's not just the shows. It's not the guests. It's not, all of that. It's really about you. And I just want to say, and I'm sure you're going to hear it today. You're going to hear it from Brother Roland and others. I wanted to personally just say thank you for that level of support. Thousands upon thousands of people tuned in to what was said yet last night in understanding this midterm election. And it means everything. It means everything to have all of you on. And so y'all were keeping me up to date, because, I'm moving and shaking and I was trying to keep up with the races. I'm looking at all races in the swing states and everything. And the thing I loved about, I'm going to call y'all my culture crew. I know Roland got his Bring the Funk fan club. We got the culture crew. It's all love because we all one family. But the thing I loved about with the culture crew and the Bring the Funk fan club is that y'all were so informed. Y'all were so engaged. Y'all kept me up to date. I'm reading your comments book, and then y'all calling the races before I get it on the news. Like, y'all became Associated Press and Reuters. You know what I'm saying? Y'all became the news. I was like, oh, okay. Y'all was like, oh man, Karen Bassington dead. She a little bit up over Caruso. Oh, somebody else. Oh, Caruso's back up on top. And it's like, wow. Oh, this person. Oh yeah, Stacey lost. And it's like, wow. So I just want to say thank you for that level of engagement. It means a lot. If you did not take a look at it, just we streaming it. We're going to be streaming it for a few days, actually. So take a look at it, because a lot of these races that we're seeing, a lot of them, especially for Congress, too close to call. They haven't made a determination about the one in Georgia. And I'm looking at some other areas too, folks. Too close to call. A lot of these races are too close to call. And I think a lot of people expected that, but we didn't expect the level of this, and I heard Monique Presley say this last night, and I agree with her because I was reading the stories this morning. There was no red wave. There was no red wave. There wasn't this total demolition of Republicans whooping the ass of Democrats. It wasn't like that. But they did. Y'all know me, man. We got to think outside of the box, right? But guess what? I'm gonna take a quick pause. When we come back, I'm gonna share with you why we need to ask the question, now what, and are we ready for change? I'm gonna share with you why. I'm gonna bring in my brother Sinedu Wakorfor. we're going to have a conversation. Because what I saw yesterday, it wasn't a bloodbath. You know what I mean? It wasn't all red and everything. There was some resistance. Yes, some election deniers, the last time I checked, and y'all can tell me if you saw something change. I was reading a report, I think it came from the New York Times, 75 election deniers, known election deniers, were able to win seats in various states across the country. 75. Remember, we put it out there that it was about 300 election deniers on the ballot. So 75 of those 300 were able to win some of the races, right? The big takeaway, the other big takeaways, DeSantis won for a second term down in Florida as Florida's governor, right? Which many people kind of knew, but he won big. He won in double digits. So he won. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, beat Beto O'Rourke. So Beto is out. Abbott is still in. So that was big. Stacey Abrams, unfortunately, lost her bid. And when I was watching the show last night, you know, it was coming down to like 300,000 votes that she missed out on, right? I think she may have lost, and I'm going to double check the numbers, and Ariel, let me know if I'm correct on this, my producer. I think she had actually lost less votes the first time she ran against Brian Kemp. So we're going to double check on that and get the final numbers. But the fact is she did lose. It was a race that everybody was hoping that she would win because of a number of factors, right, to bring in some momentum. But it was a hard fought race, and the blame game is coming along. So I want to talk about that. I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I'm going to share with you some other takeaways from last night. We're going to bring Sinead into the conversation. And then I can't wait to share this with y'all. Because what we saw last night, even though there wasn't a huge smashing of Democrats, Black leadership lost last night. I'm going to break it down for you, y'all. I'm going to break it down. Black political leadership lost last night. That's why I'm asking, now what? And are we ready for change? Because as much as Democrats were able to resist the red wave, Black political leadership took a hit. And we took hits after hit after hit. And I'm gonna throw it out there, folks. Can I keep it real with y'all? Because this is the culture. We keep it 100. We keep it transparent. Yesterday, I was in a place, right? I was in a place where there was a little bit loss of hope. There was a little bit of loss of hope, folks, in the place. So I just, Black leadership, we took a hit last night, folks. We'll talk about it. I'm going to take a quick pause when we come forward. Let's discuss it. Let's bring Sinead in it, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. We took a hit. Stay with us, folks. It's just getting started here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
invest in ourselves. We all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farrajii Muhammad. Okay, so we have been just kind of getting the conversation started around this issue of what happened last night, folks, because there were so many ups and downs. There was some triumphs, and then there were some trials that are put upon us. And so, of course, today we want to take a look at this. Let me just go to a lot of what my culture crew is saying. Some of you have already checked in and shared your thoughts about what we're seeing, what happened last night. So let's respect your comment. Let's respect your voice here. All right, Natural Diva, you checked in, kicking us off this afternoon. You said, look, y'all pray for us in Georgia. Warnock headed to a runoff. I am so pissed off at my people in this state. Stacey should have won. Like the great Ray Charles said, Georgia. I can't sing. But the point is, folks, look, Georgia is on the mind of everyone, especially black folks in this country right now. Stacey Abrams lost. With all the momentum that she had, she was not able to pull out the win. Big blow. Big blow to what we were hoping. But this other part of it, Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, Lord Jesus. You go into a runoff with a man like Herschel Walker? I don't even know how to handle that. So Natural Diva, I'm with you, sis. My heart goes out to y'all because this thing is, I was blown away. I would at least thought that Warnock would, and again, this is not on Warnock. This is about voters, folks. This is about voters. And I'm not getting into the blame game or anything like that, right? Because we could say, oh, it was this person's fault or that person's fault. Because this is, for those who are advocates of this form of democracy, this form of participatory politics, it comes down to the voters. You can't beat people up for voting what they think their interests are. Let's just put that out there. So this is about the voters, and the messaging, you can get into that, to the weeds of that. Like, is the messaging right? Should we talk more about inflation versus abortion and all of those things? But it's just, it's mind blowing that Herschel Walker is even able to get to this point after all that we know about Herschel Walker, after how he has presented himself. It's mind blowing. So Natural Diva, my heart is with you, sis. I understand. I'm still trying to recover from it, to be honest with you. I mentally, emotionally, I'm still carrying the spirit of what just happened last night. Sophia, my sister, you checked in and said, look, these races were a pure disappointment. You said it, Sophia. You said it. It was hard. We took some hits. Sophia, that's why I'm asking the question. Are we ready for a change? And I'm gonna let my team know. King Keenan, Ariel, let's put that down there. I want that, if we could put that question out there. Are we ready for a change? Pauline, my sister Pauline, thank you so much for checking in. Please, let's pray for a win for Reverend Warnock. Yes. Yes, Lord Jesus. Yes, yes, yes. I would hate for Georgia to be under, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Jay the Dancer, Pauline, thank you so much, sis. Truly appreciate you. Jay the Dancer, you said the House will be in Republicans' hands and the Senate may be for the Democrats. Yeah, those races are too close to call right now. Those are the big races, right? I think you're right in that prediction. The House will be in Republicans, Senate may be for the Democrats, which actually works a little bit better in some cases. I think President Biden was even kind of like, hinting that was going to happen. But yeah. So I appreciate that, Jay the Dancer. Appreciate you. McCall, my sister, you said, I am so glad that Lake didn't win Arizona governor. Yeah, that was a rough one. That was a rough one, right? Absolutely. Lori Parks, you said, even though my sister Stacey Abrams lost her battle now, it's time for her to step into those battle shoes again to get Warnock reelected again. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We probably, if she didn't say it then last night, she probably would have to say it now because of the time frame. But you're right. Start to move your people under Warnock. You're absolutely right. And I bet you, Lori, there's some conversations happening around it. And Chris V, you said, look, I'm not feeling good about the Senate race in Nevada, right? I can see it flipping red outside of Clark County, which is heavily blue. Nevada is a pretty red state. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Janelle, you said, I don't think our people really understand how our government works or they don't care. That's a great point, which is why this is a great segue for us to have our conversation with our brother Sinedu Okorafor, who is a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist, and he's an activist and an advocate for political justice in so many different places. Sinedu, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for checking in this afternoon. How you feeling? Oh, you got you on mute, bro. There we go. We gotta hear the voice and power of Sinedu. Yes, sir.
I'm good, but how are you?
Hey, brother, I'm good. Hey, look, here's my take on these races last night. First, let's start with you, because I've already kind of hinted at a couple of things. But what did you make of this yesterday? You study politics, Sinedu, and for those who don't know, Sinedu really is a political scientist. As much as he's a political scientist. He studies and understands the dynamics of this stuff. So, Sinedu, what did you see last night? And then I'm gonna share my thoughts, and then we're gonna dialogue.
Well, I saw this. Most importantly, I'm gonna start here. Stop saying that Black men are not voting at the rates of Black women, because even when Black men vote at high rates, we still need white people to vote for Democrats, or we will not win. It's very important to say that, because exit polls show that even if every Black man and woman voted for Stephanie Abrams, she still would have lost. So you mean every Black man and woman in Georgia? If every Black man and woman who voted voted for Stacey Abrams, she still would have lost. Dang. Because it's a numbers game. And I think it's important that we remember that, irregardless of how we support people, look at the general statistics of how many Black people are in America. Right. The majority are white. So even if we were all on the same page, we need other people to take interest in voting Democrat as well. And that's going to be a challenge. But I was happy to see that in Georgia, Black men and Black women were voting Democratic, and they did vote for. So let's stick with the Stacey Abrams piece for a minute, real quick. Hold on, let me turn on. But there we go. Let's talk about this. How big is this? How I say it's a big blow, but is it really a big blow? Am I exaggerating? No, it's not a big blow. So I was telling a friend this. There's a difference between what we may want to do and what God may have called us to do. Come on, Pastor. Come on, Pastor. Come on, Doctor. Stacey Abrams would make an amazing governor, but her work here, and this may not be the time to say it because it's still new, but her work here is beyond that governor's mansion. What she's able to do is turn the hearts of people. She made Georgia turn blue to get Warnock and Ossoff in, and that was her work. And I think her power is in that. And the reason why I say that it's not really a loss is you got to look at the whole story because hindsight ends up being in 2020. Do y'all remember when Barack Obama was leaving office and he wanted to put Merrick Garland as the Supreme Court judge? He lost that seat. He lost that opportunity. It may look like the end of the world, but now this person is running the Department of Justice, right? Y'all remember when John Kerry wanted to be president? He lost that race. When Obama was in office, he became the Secretary of State, if I'm not mistaken, at some point. So, and now he's a special envoy. Like, this is the thing. Sometimes our ambitions and what we're actually called to do, they might differ from each other. So I hope that Stacey sees that her power is beyond that pulpit of sitting at the governor's mansion. She has an insurmountable power that could do us well as a country.
I love it. I love it. Here's why, and this is why I'm glad you on today, Sinead. This is by design, brother, that we put you on today. Because I'm sorry, man, I feel like I need therapy after what just happened last night. Here's why. Here's why. Because last night, as I was watching our Black Votes Matter election coverage, it dawned on me. And I'm going to go back to the original question. Are we ready for a change? It felt like this was the election that broke the camel's back. And here's why. Even though it's not a presidential election, for the past 2 years, we have had more conversations about race, more conversations about white supremacy, more conversations about democracy, right, than we probably had in a very long time in this country. Like we've had reparations is part of the mainstream discussions now. We have had and Black folks have played critical roles and of course in all of those struggles, right, all of those issues. But it felt like ignorance served as the dominating factor. And I'm not saying that to throw shade on nobody who voted. I'm talking about ignorance of, like, we are choosing to not see the truth. We're choosing not to see the facts. We're choosing not to believe that we're in this place. Here's why. I'm going to share with people what I saw with this whole election. And I had to, it didn't dawn on me, Sinead, until I started to look at the numbers of everything. I'm about to pull this something up on my laptop here. Out of one Black political leader who was able to gain a victory, and that's for my home state of Maryland, big shout out to Wes Moore. You know what I'm saying? Like, Wes made history last night being the first Black man to be in the governor's role in the history of Maryland. If we had a hand clapping sound, I would play that right now because that was amazing. Came out and he started gunning. So big shout out to my brother Wes Moore. Of course, he's been on here on the Black Star Network. But outside of Wes Moore, this is who I saw. Stacey Abrams out of Georgia, lost. Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock, both out of Georgia. They in a runoff situation. Herschel Walker, we can say his views, it is what it is. Raphael Warnock is fighting for his political life right now. Mandela Barnes out of Wisconsin, lost. Val Demings out of Florida, lost. Tim Scott, reelected out of South Carolina. Sherry Beasley, lost. Charles Booker, lost. Something is happening. Something is happening, Sinead. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like the most like the voices that we need to represent our people. None of these people, I'm not talking about Herschel Walker, but all them other Black folks, these are people who are brilliant, who are qualified, who are smart, and they all lost. And I feel like, for me, it just feels like if we are offering up some of the brightest, the brilliant, and the most boldest, and they lost, what are we What are we hoping for? And I put out a tweet last night, Sinead, saying that the strategy we need, I said we need a more effective strategy for Black political power, because the hoping and voting strategy ain't it. This is what I tweeted yesterday. It ain't it. This hoping and voting strategy just don't work no more. We passed that. We're putting up solid candidates. You know what I'm saying? As a community, these are solid candidates. Mandela Barnes, lieutenant governor, he lost. I mean, you're putting up brilliant Black people, and we're not even bringing them to the forefront. How do we explain it? How do we reconcile that, bro?
I think it's important that we understand a couple of things. And I'll tell you why I wasn't disappointed last night. This is a journey, and journeys take time. Remember when we rejoiced for Obama, remember that Jesse Jackson did lose, right? I said it to say that there are going to be losses before there are going to be some wins. I think it's important that we do not lose hope. I think what we also need to look at is what we also can learn if you're a Democrat. I'll tell you what I learned yesterday. The Republican Party, if you pay attention, most of the Trump-backed governors lost.
Right, they lost. Yeah, that's true.
Right?
They lost Lauren Boebert. She's out of it.
Boebert, Mehmet Oz wasn't able to
Mehmet Oz, right?
So
but there's still 75 election deniers that have moved forward, right? They won their race.
But check this out. Those election deniers most of them aren't quite the Trump Republican. I might have made an analogy here that I think Democrats need to listen. What they've proved is that the other faction, Republicanism, can have two sides. It could have the Trump side and the other side, and both can be electable. One doesn't need the other. Democrats need to learn that in our party, there needs to be space for folks who are a bit different, folks who might not be the Nancy Pelosi Democrat, but might be the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Democrat. Because if we don't make space for the gamut of Democrats, then we're going to have a split in our party. And I think that is very, very, very dangerous, because if you look at the Herschel Walker situation with Raphael Warnock, if that independent percentage happened to have went to Warnock, there would be no runoff. Then this thing will be over. The point I'm making here is, if we don't have an opening for diverse ideas, we're going to lose. Now, I'm going to get to the Black thing in a second.
So, okay. All right, go ahead. I'm going to let you finish, bro, because that's a great point. Great point.
I'm thinking bigger picture as well, because what is important to me, that is in 2024, the electorate majority, that's the majority of voters, will be Generation X, Generation Z, and Millennials. We're going to finally outnumber the baby boomers and beyond as the highest electorates for those who can vote. So I say all this to say, if we are not properly probing and planning, we're going to be in a majority position, but feel like a minority. And I think we have to discuss about how the Latinas did not come out and vote Democratic.
They didn't. I saw that. I saw that. They actually, I've just read, and the NPR put out a report today. I think it was NPR or the New York Times, but the report was that Latinos in the last election of 2020 came out in 65%. This election, they came out in 60%. You know what I mean? The turnout. So you talking about over the course of 2 years, 5%, 5 percentage points of group of folks have lost faith and decided not to go blue this time. So I love the point that you're making. I absolutely love the point. I love the point of being creating a coalition, right? You got to understand the power of the coalition. I love the point that you made about giving space to new and alternative ideas. Here's the issue that I'm having, though, Sinead. My issue is, when are we going to say enough is enough? When do we say, hey, you know what? We need, I think we literally probably tried every different strategy in the playbook. And I'm talking about in our collective years since being able to vote. We've tried so many different ways. Like every election, there comes these lessons, right? Like we say takeaways, these lessons about how we can get more Black people engaged. I'm starting to think after last night's election, bro, I think it's going to hit downhill from here for Black political leadership. Unless Black political leadership fall in line with the sentiments of the Black voters. I think Black voters feel like, you know what? We're out for ourselves. Remember back in the day, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know in cities across this country, there was always like a coalition of Black folks, right? Black leaders who have kind of like sanctioned certain people to run and all of those things. Like that used to be the infrastructure, right? Back in the day. Now, there's no infrastructure for that. We talked about in the city of Detroit, they elected a gentleman, and I'm not mad that he got elected, but the city of Detroit is 70% Black, and you elect somebody that is non-Black to run to as a Democrat to be in the Senate or to be in Congress. And it's like, we're at this place. I feel like a lot of Black folks in this country feel like they're leaderless, right? Like we're just all over the place. And more importantly, we're not just all over the place with intention. I think, and I could be wrong, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, I think that a lot of us are all over the place by choice. You know what I mean? It's like we feel like we don't have any other place to go. We don't have, it was disappointing, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, Sinead. I was disappointed yesterday because of the hits that we took. And I thought to myself, I was like texting a friend, I was just like, I'm hopeless on this thing. I'm hopeless because here's where the conversation needs to start now. Don't talk to me about don't talk to me about yesterday. At this moment, I want to hear talk about 2024. I want to talk about what are we going to do for 2024? Because right now, the bold, the knowledgeable Black leaders, political leadership we were putting our hopes in, the fresh voices that we were putting our hopes in, they're not even in the conversation anymore. I agree with you on Stacey Abrams, but when you got Mandela Barnes, when you got Val Demings, when you got all these people that could have brought some different life to the Democratic Party, they didn't win their elections. Now, what are we going to do for the 2024 election?
We need to make sure that those people, like the Val Demings, the Mandela Barnes, first of all, you don't be discouraged. I'm happy to see this many Black people going up for positions. And I think, it's a marathon, and more or less than a marathon, it's a relay. And I think it's important that we don't get discouraged. Like, listen, I don't want to bring race into it, but remember, Joe Biden, I'm going to use him for example. Joe Biden wanted to be president forever. It never happened. I think he tried for how many decades? Had to become vice president twice to a historical first Black president, and then finally eventually get it. Politics is not a win all the first time type of situation. I think in losses, you regroup and you go again.
But see, we can't see. That's the thing, though. That's the thing, bro. Like, like I said, maybe because of the moment, but what do we, and I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but rain on anybody's parade. I understand the value. I voted. I understand the value of the exercise, but I'm like, we got a very fundamental problem here. It's not even about Black people getting to the polls. It's like, where are the candidates that Black people feel strong enough about to truly support? Like Stacey Abrams, for example, you know, she put out all of this stuff. She was doing this great work in terms of voter education, voter registration. She done all of this stuff. And to your point, it just wasn't enough, right? She got a good percentage of Black folks, but she still needed some additional help. We need additional help. It's for me, it's like the candidates, and what are the issues that we're going to land those candidates on that's going to drive Black folks to feel excited. There's something about what Barack Obama did, right? In the first election and even in the second term. But the first term, he ran on the platform of hope and change. We know that. We love that. We embrace that. That's why we came out in the record-breaking numbers that we did. But for this go around, and I'm not expecting there to be a Barack Obama singular person, but all of those individuals that I just named, right? These are people who are legitimately qualified, and they're not working, and they didn't win. So now, what do we do next? It's like the great Dr. King. He said, where do we go? Where do we go from here? Right? He poses that question. That's the thing. And for me, it's not going back to the Democratic Party per se and be like, okay, guys, try this one more time. Because I don't believe, and based upon the conversations that I see in our chats each and every day, I think Black folks are just at this point. We're like, okay, we did try to do our best. It didn't work out. Yo, we need to really think about it. I'm seeing people say literally new strategy. New strategy. What's the new strategy? We only just need a new strategy. We need a different type of candidate, right? That Black, and we need some forces to start to narrow down our political ideology in this country. And I'm talking about for Black people. Our political ideology has to be narrowed down so that way we can produce a candidate that speaks to that ideology, that represents us, and then that could win elections. That's what I'm talking about, bro. And in 2 years, when the president of the United States, we can't even think of I bet you if y'all, I'm just throwing it out there, who would y'all say is the candidate that we need to put our support behind for president of the United States in 2 years? Put in the chat that you really believe that is like speaks to not just Black America, but that can speak to some progressive values, that can speak to the change of the culture. Democrats are going to have some very hard conversations, man. They're going to have some hard conversations because we may see the turnout in 2024 to be less than what we see in this election, certainly less than what we saw in the last presidential election. And if y'all talking about, since the president's talking about preserving democracy, man, you better help to raise the hopes of Black folks.
You know, as I said to you before, I have been thinking a lot, and I said, what if we stop thinking about the voting process and think about the places that we are losing at, and what do all these places have in common? Do you know what all these places have in common, Farrajii?
What?
They're all in the South. They're all places that are not developing like the East Coast and like the Far West. And it makes me wonder, you know, these are the folks, you know, the Marco Rubios and so, who vote against the legislation that the Bidens or the Obamas try to put in place that would help their constituencies. I have a crazy theory. Maybe if employment and education infrastructure were fixed in these places, there could be a vast influx of different people who choose to vote differently. Because look at Texas. Even though Greg Abbott won, for Texas to be as red as it is, Beto O'Rourke came pretty damn close, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But also pay attention to what's going on in Texas. It's having a new tech boom. You see that Elon has moved SpaceX there, has moved Tesla there. Many other big corporations that have big amounts of employees with vast mindsets are moving there. Because I can almost assure you, if you go through and look up the Texas electorate within the last 20 years, it has changed more blue probably within the last 10 years. What has happened in Texas within the last 10 years? The type of business that is coming. So this is just a thought. Maybe if because the issue with the South, I campaigned in the South for Jamie Harrison in South Carolina. And let me tell you what I saw. White people have made a deal with themselves that they would rather be in perpetual poverty forever than to let somebody Black or Democratic govern them.
And that's the point, bro. See, that's the point. That's why we got to have a different strategy, because just that point alone shows you the seriousness of it. Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis in Florida. I mean, they're tearing up Florida. You know, Constitution has become fodder. You know what I'm saying? And it's like these guys are back in the seats. This is concerning. This is very, very concerning. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, just to that point that you made about, you know, like we have to do more. We have to, but I'm for something different and effective. I don't mind doing more. And I know many people are checking in and say, well, what about Westmore? He'll be just getting in the seat in 23, y'all. Y'all got to keep this in mind. So he's not going to run for president in 24. He'll just be starting in 23. So that he's out of the picture. Maybe 4 years from now, he might be a consideration, right? Depending on how that thing go. But he's just getting in the seat. But there's got to be there has to be some infrastructure things. And I'm saying, going back to that old school, they may have to go to that old school thing where we got to build Black political leadership in various cities and states in order to produce the national leaders that we want to see. That's how you saw an Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson and others. They came out of those spaces where Black power, Black political power, was always built on a local level, on a state level, and then naturally it transformed into a national situation. That's the part I think we need to do to get the ball rolling. The Democrats ain't going to do that, bro. The Democrats are not going to build power bases for Black political leadership on a local and state level.
I think we need to be very careful with this Black thing, and I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because every time we say we need to do better for Black, the Republicans just pull out a Black person out their ass and say that, oh, look, he's Black too. They did that with Herschel Walker. When Obama ran, they did that with Herman Cain, going against Obama. When what's his name was in office, they did that with Trump was in office, by bringing Ben Carson, very intelligent Black man, but did not have the testicular fortitude to actually serve for any of our needs, has no political acumen whatsoever. If we just make it Black as a moniker, we can lose. We can lose out, because what they'll do is they'll get a puppet, and we have to be careful, because in my opinion, we need somebody, to your point, with, and I love her dearly, but we need somebody who is going to be in that presidential space, president or vice president, with more of a Stacey Abrams type of spirit, and with all due respect, a less of a Kamala Harris spirit. I'm just keeping it 100, because if we keep just saying it's going to be Black, and that wasn't to pit two women against each other, no, but if we just keep saying Black, they can just pull Omarosa and say, okay, Omarosa is about to be VP. Look, she's Black. We have to be careful.
I get it. You're absolutely right. All right, let me go to a couple of comments from our online culture crew. Deborah, you checked in and said the Democrats need to start early with more focus and how they can get more voters to believe in them and not because of color. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Corinna, you checked in and said, look, let me make sure I'm looking at Corinna's, because she talked about living in Florida. And she said that she gave a criticism about yesterday's coverage of Black Votes Matter. She said that there was more people focused on the Democrats' failure rather than telling her, a Florida resident, what she might have to expect coming as Marco Rubio and DeSantis and others retain strong Republican power down in Florida. How can you empower the black Florida voter in the midst of all of this craziness that is coming down there? So your criticism of yesterday's piece is noted, Corinna, and I think that that's the part of this as well. And I get your part too, Sinead, that when you talk black, it can turn people off. That's how we got a Herschel Walker in a runoff with Raphael Warnock, because the Republicans responded, "No, you say you wanted a black man. Here's your black man." So I understand that. I'm just making a point. And maybe we don't have to have a quote unquote the black candidate, but you know, we have to have interest. We have to have interest. And maybe, and you know, just thinking, and I'm just sharing some thoughts here, folks. We don't see Asian candidates.
I was about to say that. It's about to go there.
Y'all with me on this one? Y'all ride with me on this one. We don't see Asian candidates, but you got Koreatowns in some of your most powerful cities. We don't see Asian candidates, but they got banks. They got businesses, and they created an economy within their community. So maybe we should. We have been focused on representation a lot, especially in our struggle, right? And it's understandable, all of that. But now, is representation more important than actual community building? Is representation more important than real power? Because when Asian, whether you're from Korea, whether you're from Japan, when they come into the room, they come from a place of power. And I'm just using this as an example. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking about, you know, we have some Latinos, right? But we understand that Latinos have power by their numbers, by their voting habits, right? We understand that. Even if we did something like, in Sinead, you probably will appreciate this, and so, like the brothers and sisters from the islands, the Caribbeans, Haiti, and other parts of the islands, bringing them into it. We don't see a lot of that representation, but they got power. They got power. So now I'm not sure, Sinead, and I'm in this part of the conversation, I'm not sure if we should be emphasizing representation. I want to emphasize black power. And black power could include other marginalized communities, but we do understand that there needs to be black political power. Political doesn't necessarily mean being a part of the participatory structure. It could also just simply mean that our interests are going to be considered, our interests are being discussed, because we wield power from other places and not just from the ballot box. I'm just throwing this out there, y'all. Sinead, I'm just throwing this out there, bro, because I'm trying to process all of that we are feeling. I'm trying to take in what you're sharing, the insight and the brilliance of what you're sharing, the insight and brilliance from our culture crew. I'm trying to process where I am on this thing. I'm talking about power, not just representation. I'm talking about power, folks. Sinead, what's your final word on that, bro?
My final word is exactly what you just said, and I was on my way there. Sometimes, y'all, software is as important as hardware. Sometimes we don't always need to be the representation for ourselves. We could have surrogates, like you just said about there's never a whole bunch of Asian politicians or whatever, but they make sure that their interests go into every room. And I think that is how we need to organize. The same way we say that Biden couldn't win this election without black people, without what Clyburn did for him in South Carolina, that's it. We already have it. I don't think we're properly using it, because after we get people where they need to be, we need to remind them If these demands aren't met, we'll make sure you don't get back here. And
There we go.
stand by it. And even if it looks, we have to be willing, like I just said about those white people in South Carolina, we have to be willing to say, to make a point, we will vote against you in mass. If we can do that, then people will see Black people, no matter if they're white or Black or brown or green, whatever, they will see white people not just as a bargaining chip, but as an equal player at the table. And you can't turn our needs to maybe my second term or maybe after 2-3 years. No, we need this now. And if not, we'll make sure you not get in. Try that. You'll see something different.
I appreciate that. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears a little bit. We can just switch gears just a tad bit. We're going to talk about from Black politics to Black businesses. But it all still comes together, folks. It all still comes together. We're going to check in talking about how do we build up the power of the local Black business for the National Urban League's Build Up Local program. We're going to be checking in with our sister, Renee Johnson, who is a senior advisor in public-private strategies to give us some insight about how do you build the power of Black businesses. So stay with us, that conversation, and we'll continue to have the conversation about politics because guess what? Marijuana was on the ballot for 5 states yesterday. And guess what? It's moving forward to becoming used, not just for medicinal purposes, but also for recreational purposes. So we'll have that conversation. So stay with us. A lot is coming at you in the next hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Peace and welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farrajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversations as we're having the second hour of this discussion, folks. We've, of course, been talking about the big takeaways from yesterday's midterm elections. And I'm still processing it. I'm sure you're still processing it. We've been chatting with Culture Crew member Sinead Duakofor. He's still processing it. It's a lot for us to really think through. And so we want to continue to have that conversation, but we do want to switch gears and looking at, okay, in light of all that is happening politically, how does that affect us on the business side of things? And the National Urban League, which is one of the nation's premier civil rights organizations, of course, has been on the front lines, both more importantly, behind the scenes in legal cases and in advocacy work. It has put together a program called Build Up Local, which is a program that is designed to help small businesses to thrive, especially in very uncertain times and economic uncertainty such as this inflation that we're still a part of. So here to talk to us a little bit about the effort of the NUL and more importantly, the implications of politics on business and of course on not just our vote, but also on our wallets is Renee Johnson. Renee is a senior advisor for public-private strategies, and we're happy to have Renee join us. Renee, thank you so much for your patience, sister, for this, but we thank you so much for joining us today. This is, you came on a day, Renee. Renee, you came on a day.
Well, I'll preface with this, and you don't know this. November 7th is my birthday. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, this is my life. So as a kid from elementary school through college, through law school to now, this is what I do. So it's not a birthday celebration. It is how am I going to help make an impact on the world? So I was born to do this, is what I say.
Wow. You were born to do something for the people and for the culture. Is that what you're telling me, Renee?
That's what I do. I was born for this moment.
I appreciate that. In a moment, we're bringing Sinead into the conversation. But first, I wanted to kind of give people some background on the work that you're doing, because you've been doing this for a long time. And you've been working in both private and public sectors and in a lot of different spaces. But you're serving as a senior advisor for this initiative that is the National Urban League, the National Minority Suppliers Development Council, which is NMSDC, and Public-Private Strategies Institute, the company you're working for, to talk about this release of this first phase of Build Up Local, which is a one-stop shop for business owners in systemically excluded communities of color to learn about resources and programs made available through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This is the big bill that President Biden signed with the approval of Congress. Trillions of dollars are at stake. And more importantly, I think the big takeaway is what is going to be the future of small businesses and small Black businesses in America, right?
Yes. And, we're coming up on a year of that signature, right? In the past.
Wow.
And it'll be next week, right? November 15th. So
I'm just blown away. The time is flying. Okay.
Yes. It's a lot of symbiotic things within time and within the month of November. And so with that said, we're coming up on this year. People need to know that a lot of money has gone out the door. But where has that money gone? Who has gotten those contracts? And then also what states are releasing funds currently? Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of you out here want to know, how can you get access to those contracts? What state, if you live in a certain state, is my state putting that money out the door? There are places like in New Mexico or Arizona where they are actually starting projects and actually almost completing some. And we don't know if you knew about that. So we created this Build Up Local platform with the National Urban League, with National Minority Supplier Development Council, so that we can ensure that not only if you're a new business and you're first starting out and you want to make sure you have an EIN, a banking account, you want to make sure you have all those checks in those boxes of how to start your business, or you've been in business for 50 years and you need to just know where those contracts are from the federal government to state government. We want to make sure that you can come to one place and you're able to kind of maneuver this whole bureaucracy in an easy way, because this is a once in a generation opportunity, and we're not going to see anything like this in our lives again.
And this is a very interesting time, right? Like, in the last segment, you heard some of the conversation. I'm trying to, and I got to process my thoughts on this, right? I'm trying to stay hopeful, because when we look at our history, Black folks, we have been absolutely loyal, Renee, to the narrative that you can be whatever you want to be in America. All you got to do is take this path, go to school, you know what I mean, connect with the right people, regardless of where you're from. Like, we've done all of that. We've mastered that process.
Yeah.
And we're still in a point, and they're still in a place where we need help, right? Like I might be just jumping the gun here, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like we have gone as far as we can go. Now there seems to be like this pushback. Like, you folks always expect business owners, especially Black business owners, to go the extra mile, to not just run through the red tape, to jump over the red tape. Like, we always have these goals that we're able to attain, that we're able to get to. And now, what do we do? Because Black businesses, when I was reading one report, Black businesses are shutting down.
Well, that's true, but let's look at it a little differently, right?
All right, go ahead, because I'm in my bag right now. I'm in my feelings.
And it's okay to be in our feelings, because when we're in our feelings, we have movement. And when we're not in our feelings, we're stagnant, right? But if we just think back 50 years ago to our grandparents, our great-grandparents, or even our parents and what they were going through, they provided the foundation and sort of like the roadmap to where we are today, because the burdens that they had, we don't have. And so we have to pay homage and give thanks to the hard work of the forefathers of our Black ancestors, right? Our parents, grandparents, because they paid a lot for us to be where we are. And so, yes, the road isn't easy, but it isn't as hard as it once was. It's still hard, and I don't want to act like it's not. It is still hard, right? But with all those changes that we have overcome, how do we then connect to one another throughout the country, throughout the universe, if you will, to ensure that we're helping each other, so that we're lessening the barriers for each other? And that's why we have these things like this platform, because we want people to connect. We want people to find solutions, resources, opportunities, engage, be networked into each other, so that you don't have to have this hard road. There's someone who's already paved it, right? So let's find someone who's already done the groundwork for you, so that you can say, hey, I just need to get to my next step. I want this. I need this for my business. And I want to focus on the thing which is what I do good at, my business. If I sell widgets, I'm good at that. I'm not good at accounting. So how do we connect people in our community to ensure that they have the proper resources so that they can thrive? And that's the step we're at now.
That is awesome. Sinead, I want to bring you back into the discussion, bro, because we know that Black businesses, are hurting. And one of my online culture crew members, Renee, you don't like my music, he said that Amazon is crushing Black, just a small business. So Sinead, what's your take on what Renee is sharing and the importance of it? And then if you could talk about, the changing business landscape where people are moving from their business from the storefront to online retail.
First of all, Renee, so good to be with you and be on with you. Funny enough, when I worked for Morgan State, I used to work in the department that dealt with the minority business and small business reserves. And it is unfortunate. First of all, it's amazing to see how much resources are out there for small and minority businesses. There is so much going on as it pertains to Black businesses. But from somebody who's worked in that position and had somewhat of control, I think it's important that Me personally, state of Maryland, for example, I can just use Maryland as an example. State of Maryland has a goal that MBE, that's Minority Business Enterprise, and SBR, Small and Women Business Resources Group, that they should get 10% and 20% respectfully a year if from all state institutions, right? Almost nobody follows that in Maryland. But we, I worked at an HBCU and we wanted to make sure that that was the case. And what we realized when we polled people who had their purchase cards is that it's hard for a lot of these Black businesses to get noticed when going to Staples is easier online, or when going to Amazon was easier to curate that. So when I was there, probably similar to what you all are doing, but on a smaller scale, we went and researched all the things that people were buying on the campus. And then we went and found all the Black businesses that matched those things. And we got our numbers up to almost 40%. And we're actually honored by the state for doing that. And I bring that up to say, I think, unfortunately, sometimes it's the cataloging of things that make it. Human beings want things to be easy. And I think people do want to support Black business, but nobody wants to go out of their way to do something that they're not doing naturally. And I mean that in the sense it has to come as easy as Amazon, as easy as, all of the other services that we've all gotten accustomed to. So I think a repository like what you all are doing is the way to go, because if it follows the same flow and follows the same, I guess, user experience that we're used to, it makes it easier and diminishes the barriers of entry for
That's a great point. That's a great point. Renee?
Well, there's a lot that you put out there, right? And yes, everybody likes simplicity. Simplicity makes lives easy. People want the lives to be easy because why? We want to get on to the next thing. We want to move on. But when it comes to business, we have to be intentional, right? We have to be intentional in everything that we do when it comes to business. And I know for a fact in the state of Maryland too, they're moving more into that intentionality. And, there is actually state government entity called the PIC. And so they're now in charge of ensuring how contracting goes to minority businesses. And that includes women. And they are intentionally making sure that they're debundling contracts so that they are making sure that smaller businesses and minority businesses are able to be eligible for contracting. And that same practice is being done now and followed by other different state and local governments too. And now it's actually being looked at with the federal government. And then also within the federal government, there's the 8 Improvements Act that just was introduced by Senator Cardin. And there's a whole host of issues that are being addressed because this is an issue that we need to talk about, but also do something about. And advocacy is key. A federal MBE designation that you're talking about is standard too, something that we should be talking about, which is creating a destination that creates minority business enterprises, right? So that way we are creating a standard for minority businesses. So all of these things will create sort of opportunities to decrease the racial wealth gap, which also are part of why we need minority businesses, and particularly like we're talking about today, Black businesses. Build Up Local is going to be able to help do that. It's chipping away at that. And it's providing this resource so people could come to, find out how they can make their business thrive, what they need to make sure that their business is doing well, and get contracting opportunities. Because again, if you're just looking for access to capital, you're trying to grow your business. But if you're also getting contracts, you're doing your business. So we want to make sure that we're giving minority businesses opportunities to do their business. And that's what we want people to do. So we want people to go to builduplocal.org today, sign up, because it's the first phase, so that you can stay tuned to all of the contracting opportunities that are going to start rolling out. You want to be engaged. You want to know what's coming up, because it might be your business that wins a contract, right? For a state or local or federal government agency. And you might be able to help your community thrive as well in the process.
Renee, talk to us about where should we put business and economic development in the respect to all some of the other major issues that afflict Black America, right? I remember, I know we've had conversations on this show that people have said, hey, we can get a lot further along if we opened up our own businesses, right? Like that level of economic development. But as a person who's been in these spaces, who's a part of the business community, is that an accurate place to start, considering all of the other stuff we got on the table facing us and the possible opportunities that we could take advantage of to move further along? Should we just say, okay, economic development, Black business ownership is a great place to start?
I don't think that for the movement, we can only focus on one thing, right? Because how is that moving anything? What we need to be doing is having those that are good at that, doing that, right? And those who are able to help move the agenda and advocating and being the leaders in the community to help those who would like to be a part of it, doing so. And then we have others and the others leading in those areas as well. It is not a one sort of like answer. We can't just focus in one direction in order to create some sort of equality or to move our struggle or create parity from where we are currently as Black people. Our issues are systemic and intersectionalities across the board. You know,
right.
One does not one impacts the other, which impacts another, which impacts another. So we have to simultaneously work at all of these issues together. But I do believe that we should all be working together and not in silos, because that's where the problem persists.
Absolutely. Very quickly, I want to just take a couple of comments from our online culture crew. Deborah, you checked in and said all states don't have MWBE standards, but a business can benefit from another state's goals sometimes. Talk to us a little bit about that.
And that's why we need to create one, right? That's why I was saying we need to create a federal MBE designation, because every state is not created equal. The state of Maryland, like I said, is doing a great job, and there are other states that are trying to replicate. There are some states that do not care, and just like the elections that we are seeing the results that they're coming in, states have their own rights and they're able to do what they want. But if we create a federal standard, states will have sort of like a bar. They'll have like a minimum that this is what they have to do. And we will ensure that minorities across the board will be able to have this. And that will be such a huge, huge, huge step forward to having access for opportunities to decrease the racial wealth gap.
I think you're on mute, Farrajii.
Take me off from mute first. Thank you, Sinead. You Don't Like My Music said, I don't mind paying a little extra to support small owner-operated businesses. This is one of the big things that I see a lot of Black folks say, right? We want to support Black businesses. We want to support small businesses, but then the prices are too high. And then Black folks are like, nah, dog, I'm not paying a little extra. Go ahead, Sinead, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to pile on after you.
Sure. Okay, we go. That's perfect. I was going to say I don't think that's true, and I think what we should do is give honor to what these businesses charge, right? Because the moment Beyonce started talking about Telfar, no one had a problem paying whatever Telfar charged, right? But when it's if somebody else is starting a small business that are making purses and they say they're charging $200-300, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's too expensive, and da-da-da-da. But then if a celebrity attaches their name to it, all of a sudden it's proven to be self-evident. I think the quality of what someone's product is should just be based on the prices that they send if they're reasonable. And why not put a little extra dollars in your brother or sister's pocket when you know that they're not backed by multinational, multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that are able to put the price down due to those type of reasons. I think keeping that in mind also is important.
That's a great point. Great point. Renee?
Did people stop buying gas when the gas prices started skyrocketing?
No, Renee, we didn't.
So why would you have a problem paying for somebody who says this is my rate? When they say the gas costs this price, the gas costs that price.
Because, Renee, that's not our culture.
Well, and that's the problem. We need to understand that whenever someone else says the price is the price, we are okay with the price. Just because our skin tones are similar or we look the same or we're part of the same culture does not mean that I need to bargain, harass, try to cut a deal. No, because the price is the price. When you
Yesterday's
go
price
else,
is not today's price, Renee.
Exactly, because anywhere else you go in the world, do you go to Walmart and you see the sign and then you walk up to the register and say, oh, well, I would like to bargain, actually. No.
Right. But see, where does that come from?
Price is not today's price.
Wow. That is
yesterday's price is not today's price.
Renee, the fact that he has it on standby, Renee.
Right. Look, Renee probably the second. I know what Renee's thinking. She probably like, I came on here to talk about business. These guys got fat Joe playing in the back.
I was thinking a quote and I wanted to say it, but I was like, I'm not going to say it though. I'm from Chicago. I was going to do it, but I was not going to do it. But I'm glad it was done.
Hey, look, but here's the thing though, because I mean, to your point and to Sinead's point, we do have to get out of this culture, right? Because we compare the small black business to Walmart, to Target, right? And it's like, that's not a fair comparison.
I mean, you can go to your local, boutique store, go wherever, Neiman Marcus, call whatever store you want to call it, the gas station, call whatever you want to call it, but you do not barter anywhere else. You go out to eat, you don't barter. You go to Red Lobster, you go to McDonald's, you go to Starbucks, you go anywhere, you do not barter. So why are you bartering when you come to your own community? You should want to pay your community. You should want to see your community thrive. You should want to be able to put resources into your community because it looks like you, and you're saying, these are dollars that I know that are going to go back into somebody that looks like me, that works hard like me, and that it's going to be reflective of me.
I just want to say that you should put on your resume being a pastor, because that was a word.
I am a child of God. Thank you.
I can feel it. No, real talk. I love that. That absolutely is a word. And I think that is a strong word, Sinead, that defends the Black entrepreneur. Because I feel like more than any other entrepreneur, the Black entrepreneur, you already going through all of this trials and tribulations of bringing a product and service to the market, right? You go through that. Then you got to deal with now people looking at you and say, well, you Black and I'm Black.
So you should know my struggle. So thank you so much. You have helped me in my business. Thank you. I hope you're able to purchase again. You should tell more friends about me. Matter of fact, did you share that on social media? You should share your purchase. Tell your friends about me. Tell your mom about me. Tell your church about me. Tell your boyfriend's mother about me. Tell everybody about me. Because why?
Right.
Helping a Black business helps a community.
Sinead.
And if I could plug this last 30 seconds in here as well.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
In furthering what my good sister just said. And also, don't just support me because sometimes the saying to support Black business, I think sometimes people take it as a fad. Also support me because I'm quality, right? We don't question, to her point about gas, we don't question where our gas comes from, where our coal comes from. We don't question where our produce comes from. We just believe that where it comes from is trusted and is well sourced. And I think it's important that when we go and support businesses that are ran by Black people, that we support them with that same vigor that we support anything else, without a thought, without a question, because we believe it is of quality. Because if that's not what is in the front of our head, then that tells you another thing about the person who's making the purchase.
There it is. Sinead Wakorfor, thank you so much, brother. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, as always. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you all so much. And it was nice talking with you, Renee.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So, Renee, we got a final few moments of this. And I think that you brought a lot of good ideas, and more importantly, to help to shift the perspective, because, we want to continue to support Black business. I mean, hell, we're on the Black Star Network. It's a Black business. It was started by a Black man by the name of Roland Martin. So it's important that we put this conversation in its proper context, because we really do gain from the brilliance of Black people when we're in business. We gain. And for some reason, I don't know whether it's our culture or whether it's just the overall narrative where we believe that the Black business is you could just do whatever with Black businesses and it won't matter. But it really does matter, especially in a lot of our cities and states and communities. Like those, when we look back at the history, and I'm sure you know this, but when you look back at the history of Black businesses, Black small businesses in this country, when we look at the towns like Rosewood and Tulsa and all of those, like that's what made those areas great. That's what made, when I travel, and I'm sure like yourself and others, isn't it something that when we go to, I'm here in Los Angeles. So, you can go to LA, you can go to Chicago, you can go to Baltimore, you can go to New York, you can go to all these places, right? But essentially, they all start to look the same because they got the same businesses, they got the same, layout. A lot of these national chains, they create the same type of physical buildings that in all of these places. And I personally, when I moved to LA, I was like, I want to go into those neighborhoods that has the small businesses, the Black businesses. I enjoy it because I feel like that's the real salt of these spaces, of these cities.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about it, if you ever go to a MLK,
we got an MLK here.
Well, I mean, if you have one and you go to one, no matter where you are in the country, whether it's Washington D.C., Chicago, that intersection, it is the same. You see businesses, you see entrepreneurship, you see people who are community, and you see it at its best. The only thing that you don't see are the resources to really hone in and make it develop into the true essence of what it can be, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing that. We're creating the infrastructure to surround and support it. And that's what this is all about today. And so with, the National Urban League, with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and with Public-Private Strategies Institute, builduplocal.org is going to make sure that we're centered and making sure we're providing resources, opportunities, and education around the bipartisan infrastructure law so that we can ensure that minority businesses are not left behind. And I don't mean to make a pun about No Child Left Behind, but we don't want to leave any business owners left behind, but we can ensure that we are providing some sort of education component, resource, or knowledge so that they can be business ready for a potential contracting opportunity in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Renee, I want to get your thoughts on this because one of our culture crew members just posted this. Jacqueline Boateng, you said LA used to have a Black business phone book from Black Chamber of Commerce. And I remember in Baltimore, where I'm from, Baltimore, we had something similar. Is that still around nowadays, Renee?
So there's some that you can find online on like different social media sites. The U.S. Black Chambers Inc. is sort of the hub now, an umbrella for most Black chambers of commerce throughout the country. So if you go to U.S. Black Chambers Inc. And you're looking for a Black Chamber of Commerce, you could definitely connect there. Ron Busby and Talisha lead that effort there. But also you can go to National Urban League. They have entrepreneurship centers, and you can connect with them. And then also the National Minority Supplier Development Council has a certification process as well, so that you can certify your business, so that you can get access to contracting opportunities too.
That's absolutely, and I see, and my team put it up there. Folks, Keenan and Ariel, let's put up that they're builduplocal.org. There it is right there. Look at this, folks.
Oh, that's not ours. Yeah, builduplocal.org. That's us. And again, we would love for you guys to go ahead and sign up for updates because, as we said, this is phase one. And so as contracts are going on the street, as we're putting out more information, as more information is becoming available, because as you saw the elections last night, more governors are being announced from the election results. So that means there's going to be new czars that are going to be in charge of the dollars that are going to hit the streets. So we're going to find out who they are, and we're going to be making sure we're connecting people to those communities. So stay tuned. Sign up today.
Absolutely. Renee Johnson, who is a senior advisor for public-private strategies. We truly appreciate you, sis, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing in empowering Black businesses, the work that you're doing with the National Urban League, the work that you're doing with NMSDC. I mean,
know,
just
it's alphabet soup. I know
it's an alphabet soup, but it's all good, right? It's all good. So we thank you so much, sis. And again, folks, the website is builduplocal.org. Is that correct, Renee?
That's correct. And it's right there. Please visit it today and sign up.
Awesome. Renee, thank you for the great work. And more importantly, sis, thank you for being so good for the culture.
No, thank you for being the culture for us to connect to. Thank you.
Absolutely, folks. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about marijuana. Yep. It was on the ballot, and a number of states have moved forward in legalizing it. And people are saying it's only a matter of time where the whole country is on the same wave. You don't want that smoke. I get it. Smoke, cannabis. All right, anyway, we'll have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys. This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. All right, let me talk now. I'm going to share with you. We're going to get this is just the beginning conversation around the issue of marijuana being on the ballot for a number of states across the country. This is beginning. Like this is part one, because I wanted to have this conversation just with you to get your take on this as we for the final few minutes of the show. But I wanted to just let people know that this is happening, folks. This is really, really happening, where marijuana has been essentially legalized in a number of states across the country, and particularly in my home state of Maryland and in Missouri. The marijuana laws are set to be loosened for over 12 million Americans, folks. 12 million Americans. Now, in the state of Maryland, they approved the legalization of marijuana. Check this out, folks. Remember, we had Iman on just Tuesday to talk about Westmore and cannabis and weed. I said, weed in West. All right. 65% of voters in Maryland voted for it after 2/3 of the state's votes were counted by early Wednesday morning. So when the question that was posed on the ballot was, do you favor the legalization of the use of cannabis by an individual who is at least 21 years of age on or after July 1st, 2023 in the state of Maryland? So people came out and said yes in historic numbers. Wow, huge. Missouri, their ballot measure was extremely close as votes were counted late Tuesday. However, with a 99.9% of votes in early Wednesday, that ballot measure was passed with 53% support. That ballot measure will remove bans on the purchase, possession, consumption, use, delivery, manufacture, and sale of marijuana for personal use for adults over the age of 21. The initiative will also impose a 6% tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana. Arkansas voters, however, rejected the legalization of marijuana on election day. North Dakota defeated its ballot measure to legalize marijuana as well. It's the second time in 4 years that voters have rejected an effort on the issue. A similar North Dakota measure failed in 2018. Also, South Dakota, their voters also appeared of rejecting the legalization of marijuana. Wednesday morning, 99% of their votes counted. Opposition to the measure sat at 53% with support at 47%. So there hasn't been an official call on the race there, but they're looking like they may not be able to get it. All right, so I want to hear from you. Let me hear what your thoughts are around this. In terms of the marijuana legalization, there was about 5 states that put it on the ballot this year. I think that we're going to see more come the next midterm election. So let me know what y'all think. Now I see some of you. You don't like my music. You said finally a way to get stoners to the polls. That might be it. Brother King Lee, my guy, you said that why don't we put real health care on the ballot? That's what we really need. I hear that. Chris V, you checked in and said, look, I remember when marijuana got legalized out here, felt like I smelled weed outside for 6 months straight when that went into effect. Okay. Michelle Ray, you checked in and said, in the state of Maryland, yes, we did that. I'm not a smoker, but when has weed ever hurt or killed anyone such as alcohol? Ooh. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. And I want to get your thoughts on this, folks. Marijuana being on the ballot, what's your take on it? And Jamila, you checked in, Jamila Johnson, you said folks are already hooked on weed. Yeah, a lot of people are. Rodman, you checked in and said, look, I don't smoke, but I would vote for it every time I see it on the ballot. Let's go Florida. So I don't know. I mean, are we saying that we're in support of it? Are we in support of what we're seeing right now? Are we support of marijuana being on the ballot across the country? As of right now, marijuana is considered to be what they call federally, it's considered to be, I want to make sure I'm getting this right, folks. It's considered to be a substance 1, a Schedule 1 substance. That's how it was classified. And so it's still illegal at the federal level, but it's classified as a Schedule 1 substance. But people are saying, and the data is showing that people are loosening their views around marijuana. Vic Abrams, Vic, you my guy, you said I smoke and vote. But Texas is too slow in progress. Ain't that a truth? Y'all didn't put Beto in there. It's too much. Texas probably like, nope, it's too much. We can't handle all this progression. But yeah, big shout out to you, Vic. Thank you so much, sir, for checking in. Let's go back to the chat and hear what more folks are saying. Because I mean, this is going to be, and like I say, we can talk. I wanted to at least start the conversation looking at the politics of it. I want to bring back on our cannabis doctors, for her to talk to us about the implications of something like this. How do we handle moving forward? It's a big situation. Big situation. All right, you don't like my music. You said I don't see it as a health issue, but rather a criminal justice issue. So you're absolutely right, bro. Because I remember there are a few state's attorneys around the country. Marilyn Mosby from Baltimore is one, that have decided not to move forward with prosecuting people for marijuana possession. Now, you'll remember too, President Biden, how he said that he wanted to change the laws around marijuana possession because he felt like it was discriminatory to Black men in particular. So the vibe is that cannabis is slowly becoming more and more acceptable. Hotep Pan Africa, you said, I support handling it as we do alcohol. However, we have had many problems with children accessing alcohol. Yeah, we have. And I think that's one of the things, Hotep, about putting an age requirement on it. So that way it doesn't become a thing. But yeah. If parents are letting their child smoke some weed, though, that's another problem, y'all. That's a whole different problem right there. If you are letting your child, if you know somebody that is exposing a small child to weed, that's a big problem. Big problem. All right, let's go back to getting some more thoughts on this. Chris V, you said I don't smoke, but you said I don't smoke, but I voted to legalize it when the bill was on the ballot. Hopefully we can get to a place where we can decriminalize it at a state level. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can find ourselves in a different place around it. Hopefully. But this might just, Iman mentioned this on Tuesday, that this may be a way to get people to the polls, especially young people to the polls, right? But at the end of the day, folks, this thing has such big implications because of the criminal justice element to it, because of the business side to it, right? Because, there is an ongoing conversation that Black folks in particular, we can't open dispensaries. We've got to go through much more red tape than white dispensary owners, right? That Black folks may not have a slice of this cannabis pie. Can you imagine pie with cannabis in it? Bring that to Thanksgiving.
Say, do it again.
Stay off the weed.
Well, I gotta love my crew, man. Bring that to Thanksgiving, right? Imagine a cannabis pie. Oh, Grandma be like, "Oh, baby, this tastes a little different." Yeah, Grandma made it just right. Yep, just use some of the magic ingredients you've taught me. Oh, baby, I hope you did. I hope you did. Man, oh man, that would be a great Thanksgiving. It might really be good for a lot of people, but we will see. We will see. Look, folks. We are living in a situation right now where this type of ballot measure, like putting cannabis on a ballot measure, like you really can see it. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm really looking across the country. There are forces for progressive policies, and then there are forces for old school policies. And we're living in that time right now where that's essentially where, you got certain like political leaders who represent a certain time frame, a certain ideology in politics. But then that's why I think that even with certain black political leaders, when we get into those progressive spaces, like you got to slow walk that. You got to slow walk. And then marijuana is just one of those issues where, we know about the criminalization side of it. We know about that. We're all too familiar with that. But then you also have this other thing where you're like, if we legalize it, are we opening the door for, and I'm not saying that marijuana automatically leads to heavy drug use. No, not at all. I'm just making a point that, what are we opening ourselves up to, especially in the Black community, where unfortunately it is through our pleasures. Let me just say that. It is through our pleasures that we often find ourselves slaves to. Y'all feel me on this? It's through our pleasure. So whether it's drinking, whether it's through cannabis, whether it's through sex, whether it's through like the things that please us the most might be the thing that serves as one of our main challenges and detriments. Woo! Carmen, you checked in and said, I don't smoke, but everyone that I know that does is cool. Carmen Soto, thank you so much for checking in on that. Molly Z, you said deep talk right here. Yup. Yeah. Because the enemy of our rise, they know they can come through the vices that we have, the pleasures, the things that we find great pleasure in. And so, it's a crazy place for Black political leadership to be when you have these discussions. You don't want to see Black men and women keep getting locked up and getting records for stuff like this, right? I mean, there's a whole conversation right now about what do you do to all of those Black men and women who have been locked up for marijuana possession, say 5 years ago, that are doing time today? Do you let them go? Do you go back to their cases? Like, what do you do? Now that marijuana is becoming more and more legal in other states, there are 19 states. Now we got to add 2 more. So as legalization of marijuana becomes more and more legal in these states, do you go back and you look at these cases of these previous marijuana convictions and let people go? I mean, is that the right thing? Is that the best thing to do? Absolutely. Nisa, 1971, you brought it in. You said the vice economy. Yes, that's right. They are trying to take advantage through capitalism. Yeah. I love that though, Nisa. I never heard that terminology, the vice economy. I like that a lot. It sounds like organized chaos or something. You know what I mean? It sounds like it's very interesting. Very interesting. I like that. So I do have that. And so when we're looking at these policies, when we're looking at how they impact our community, and I'm gonna go back as we close out the show, folks. I'm gonna go back to something that I said earlier today. Are we ready for change? Are we ready for change? Because these things are happening, right? These things are happening, and if these things are happening, and we're trying to keep up. See, the culture is moving so fast that things are happening. Now we're trying to either legislate, we're trying to control, we're trying to manage, we're trying to figure out how to deal with it in some way, shape, or form. So now we're at this point where we got to ask ourselves, okay, are we ready for this forward motion that we find ourselves? Not just as the culture changing, but our sentiments, our views of who we are, our views about what's good and what's right for us is changing as well. So we're in a very, very important place, a very important place. And we can't lose sight of that. which is why when yesterday's results came in, which is why when I'm looking at Black leadership, which is why as I'm just kind of reflecting on where we are, it's so much at stake right now. I really do feel like we have to figure out, and y'all can just, we can talk more about this. We certainly will talk more about this, but we got to figure out, man, where do we go from here? The change that we want to see, how do we make that a reality? Where do we go from here? That was the big question that I walked away with after last night. Like, where do we go? We have absolutely done as much as we can do, following the rules, staying within the lines, trying to do our best. But it just seems like, and I'm gonna go back over those numbers. Let's go back over those names again, because I don't want y'all to forget. Stacey Abrams, Raphael Warnock, Mandela Barnes, Val Demings. We talked about Tim Scott. We talked about Herschel Walker, Sherry Beasley, Charles Book. Y'all can probably name a couple other people. Look at the state of Black political leadership. Where do we go from here? And are you ready for a change in how we are moving with our issues? Are we ready for a change that in how we in our relationship with our government? Are we ready for a change? Where do we go from here, y'all? I want to leave y'all with that. I want to leave y'all with these questions. I'm on to 2024. But there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And this is a good place to be. It's not the worst place. This is after a major election. So this is a good place to be. But come 2024, we should not be having these same conversations. We should not talk about voting. We should not be talking about all of this, trying to find the right candidate. We should not be talking about, well, what's the issues affecting the Black agenda and all of that stuff. There should be some clear, definitive path that should be laid out that we can kind of just start to walk. I'm just tired of us being all over the place. I'm tired of us being all over the place, man. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's keep these questions in mind. Over the next couple of days, we're going to have some more conversations about the elections. Of course, tomorrow we check in with Hassan Giordano, Mr. Politics, to kind of get his take on this. But folks, we got a lot to think about. Black political leadership took a hit last night. And as a people, as a nation within a nation, as a constituency, we got to figure out, where do we go from here? What's next? All right, folks, I thank y'all for tuning in. I thank you. I thank my very special guest, Renee Johnson. I thank Sinead for checking in with us. I thank my dynamic team, King Keenan, Ariel, Joel, my control room. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And always, I thank each and every one of you for joining us for the conversation. Look, check us out on blackstarnetwork.com. If you missed any of the Black Votes Matter election coverage and you want to get more insight as to how we should look at all of that has happened over these past 24 hours and what could we possibly expect over these next 2 years, make sure y'all check out Black Votes Matter election coverage that happened last night. We're streaming it now on Black Star Network. We want to continue to stream it. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. Let's have some conversations, especially over this, it's coming closer to the Thanksgiving. Let's have some conversations, and then we figure out, we might just need to take a little break, regroup, right? Recommit ourselves. We still the work is still there, but there has to be some new conversations about Black political power in this country. What does that mean? What does that look like? And so much more. But we want to be a part of those discussions. So make sure you go to blackstarnetwork.com, support us financially, continue to share the information, and most importantly, continue to do the great work of supporting Black-owned media. Also, make sure you like us on Instagram, on Twitter, Black Star Network. We're on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you come check me out. You can find me at For The Real Farrajii on Instagram, Farrajii on Twitter, Farrajii Muhammad via Facebook. And I would love, love, love to connect with you, continue to build with you, continue to grow this community we call the Online Culture Crew. And big shout out to my Online Culture Crew. Thank you so much for your continued support. I was so just happy to reconnect with y'all last night and just to go through this moment with you. Just to go through this moment. There are a lot of other places you can go to get election coverage. There are a lot of other places you can learn about the state of our democracy, right? There are a lot of other places where we could talk politics, but you decide to do all of that with us here on The Culture. And I'm extremely and humble, forever grateful and greatly humbled by that. Let's continue to build the community, and let's continue to do the great work that we've been called to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember this, folks, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great evening. Peace.